Well, good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to The Buck Stops Here. And it really does stop here tonight because so many people, we've been doing so much stuff with the Holly Farm Fire and Holiday Farm Fire. And we've done a little bit on the Archie Creek Fire with Frank and Jeannie Moore, who lost their home up there. The way I found out about that was some friends who own the Steamboat Inn, which Frank and Jeannie used to own. When you live on the North Umpqua, everybody is somehow interconnected, whether you come from outside or you're there or whatever. It really brings people on the river together and stuff. And this has been devastating. And we're going to talk about that at the Steamboat Inn, which is a historic place where the stars used to come. And it's really, if you've never been there, I was at the gym the other day when it was open. And a gentleman walks up to me and says, yeah, I heard you talking about the Steamboat Inn. He goes, my wife and I, we got married there. And we went there a couple of years ago. And he was just broken up by what has happened up there because that's a part of people's history. It's a part of their lives. And so we're going to talk to the owners in just a second here. But I want to thank Scott and Lisa Weld and Buck Sanitary Service for sponsoring our show. And I realize when you are at an event, and if they have a different porta potty there, that you're going to go to the bathroom in the closest porta potty you can find. I'm not asking you to hold it till you find a Bucks. But what I'm asking you to do is, if you like the content of what we do, if you're having an event, if you work for a city, if you work for some agency that needs outhouses or showers or all the things that they have, give them a little love because they show us a little love so that you get to hear stories that you're not going to hear on the news. And so we need to kind of work with each other and help. And I'd really appreciate that. So let's bring on our guests tonight. There they are. Introduce yourselves, my friends.
Travis Woodward.
Melinda Woodward.
So you guys are actually from Eugene.
We are.
Born and raised.
So tell people like where you worked and that kind of stuff, and then we'll talk about you. Then you had this crazy idea about buying the Steamboat Inn. So
yeah,
I went to Lane Community College, North Eugene High School. Was in school to be a mechanic, and went to work for Monaco for 9 years until they went under. After that, I took care of my dad for 7 years after he had a stroke, and kids. And then when he passed, I went to work at Shadow Hills Country Club as a mechanic, where Melinda worked, and worked there for 2 years until we decided we wanted to venture out on our own and be our own bosses. And my only stipulation was to live on a river that had steelhead in it. And so Melinda found it, and we worked hard, and here we are.
So that
from start.
So I'm sure there's some people that have never been there, but for people who have, when the Moors had, this is a place where famous people used to come a lot.
It's a big deal. I didn't realize how big a deal it was until we started looking into it to buy it, and I did the research, and it just made me want it more.
Yeah, it's a lot of famous people from the past, Hemingway and
Carter
and Dan Callahan, who was a lawyer in Salem, who lived here every chance he got and took amazing pictures.
Jane Wyatt used to come there because when I did the story with the Moors, I know that Jane Wyatt, there's pictures of her there. And it's just such a cool place for those people who haven't been there. And I'm going to show some pictures here. I'm going to find this here. This is when the fire happened. You guys will be in the background there. And you sustained, you didn't lose any buildings, right?
No. A valve house.
Okay, now let me see. Now I got to figure out, here's my problem. Then I get like, oh, there we go. Let's see. I'm going to go boom. I'm going to bring you guys. That would be really bad if I could not get that off of here. Oh, there we go. Delete overlay. Come on, there. I did it. Yeah, I'm smarter than I thought I was. But what did happen was you guys explain to people what happened to your place with the fire.
Well, the firefighters were able to save all our structures. Unfortunately, all our utilities with water and sewer were destroyed. It's probably 5 to 6,000 feet of pipe going through the woods in two different directions that feed water to the inn, and then going the other way up the side of the mountain to get the sewage away from the river. And
we have a very unique septic setup.
Yeah, it's probably the only one like it in Oregon, I would guess, but it's very susceptible to any danger in the woods, basically trees falling, rocks tumbling, and definitely fire.
And
So,
people, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so our water and sewer's gone, and getting it back is a feat in itself, and then guaranteeing that it stays functioning is a whole nother issue. I've got people willing to get it going again, but I'm getting about a 10-minute warranty on any work that's done at this point in time.
Oh man, yeah, because everybody's busy too, and it's a mess.
Yeah, and then
you guys, what people don't understand is when you have a fire, most of your septic tanks are plastic, and fire doesn't just because it's underground or where it is. It's still. We saw this up the McKinsey at the Holiday Farm fires. It just burned their whole septic tank away, plus all the piping that goes from that. And you guys have unique because you got to get it away from the river.
Yeah.
To dispose.
Our septic actually goes uphill.
Yeah, we pump all of it uphill. Not a good idea.
So to put that new one in, it's like a couple $100,000 or something, right?
No.
52,000 for the septic.
Yeah, which is going to go up a little bit because we have to now get a boring team to actually bore new lines underneath the highway and then up the side of the mountain. So, yeah, it's reaching about $60,000 for septic right now.
Then 3 water systems, all equal money.
Yeah, our water system comes from a natural spring up across the river. It's I'm trying to think of footage-wise how far it is. It's got to be 1,500, 2,000 feet from the inn up the side of the mountain. 2 1,500-gallon water tanks that people strap to their waist and just jump off the side of the mountain to set. So that has to happen again. Helicopters are too expensive. And then, yeah, you're looking at probably 1,500 feet to 2,000 feet of line strung through the woods to get the water to the inn. So that's all gone as well. It's just a lot of silly infrastructure in a lot of people's views that are required to have a business, and it's not cheap to replace.
So how much has this all set you guys back in terms of fire, COVID, all of it?
Yeah, we don't even have a bottom line as far as money is concerned.
We were only open for 3 months of the year.
Yep.
Because of COVID and then the fires.
So short season right now, we would be surviving on people making reservations and prepaying for reservations for next season that we can't take or do because we have no idea when we're going to be open.
Right.
So that's the biggest hurdle right now is trying to get everything reconnected and functioning so we can have a functioning business that we do not have at this point in time.
So what do you need? What do you need? And we didn't talk about this, and if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to. You can just say we don't want to do it. But what do you need from the state and the federal government at this point? I mean, the governor just came out with their new budget yesterday, and it was only like $140 million for relief for the fires and billions for other things. And a lot of the people up the McKinsey are going, "Hey, what the hell? You know,
yeah.
$140 million."
Applied for everything. We applied with FEMA. They said our water system did not serve enough people, and they would pay for the testing once we got it repaired. That's $30.
Yeah. Wow. And then you have our water system we have 3 properties basically here. 2 of them we own the structures on. The 3rd property where the houses are on the other side of the river is all something we just take and lease and maintain and use. But there's a 40,000-gallon water tank over there that the roof burnt and caved in on, and they don't have any plan on what they're going to do if they're going to replace it. They obviously don't have money to fix anything either, so just kind of leaves us out in the wind doing it ourselves so we can actually have a functioning business.
So what are you doing to live? Are you staying up there? Do you have enough that you can do that, or what are you doing?
Yeah, our water guy got the water treatment plant functioning, but without an actual storage tank for the water to sit in and sit in the chemical to actually sterilize it. He can't give us potable water. Drinking water isn't a thing. So we're bottled water or taking jugs into Glide to get water, but their two managers of their water treatment plant actually just one had a heart attack and the other one quit. So my water guy is actually currently looking at taking over the Glide water plant as well. So it's crazy. It's unreal.
I mean, for those of us, I was evacuated for a week, and I'm so glad that I didn't end up in this situation. But I don't think most of us really understand. We're all not living in it anymore. You guys are still.
We're still in it. You still see fires at night.
Yeah, there's still something burning here and there. Oh yeah, there's still things burning. There's still trees burning, even though it's contained and not going to spread. There's still stuff burning in the woods around us.
So you can smell it and you know it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see it at night when you drive up and down the highway. You'll see glows up in the canopy of the woods of trees. The center of the trees will burn out and form like a chimney.
Still chimneys, yeah.
And so it looks like just a chimney burning in the woods.
So what's the next step for you guys? What do you? I mean, it's kind of. Let me just ask: is it kind of okay that COVID's here because you can't have anybody in there anyway?
We'd be closed no matter what.
Yeah, we'd be closed no matter what. So that's a real issue. COVID isn't affecting us at this point. It's mainly just supplies. 2 PVC plants because of COVID shut down. So actually getting new pipe to replace the stuff that's burnt is becoming an issue. It was going to be 6 to 8 weeks before we could even get supplies to replace what's bad.
No, we found that. I think if anybody that's been ordering stuff, we found that with our freezer died. And I'm sure it was from the surge and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The freezer died and our oven blew up because of when eWeb turned the power back on, it blew up my oven. So that was, $4,000. And then a refrigerator was $8,000. And the fridge, we had to get one that we found it in Portland because otherwise it was going to be March. And you're going, March? Like I don't have a refrigerator until March. How the hell am I supposed to live like that?
We ran into the same situation here trying to replace refrigeration units in the houses and stuff when COVID first kicked on because the rumor I heard was a lot of people from Canada came down here and bought refrigeration units and just wiped out all the refrigeration units in the Pacific Northwest and then filled them with a lot of meat, basically. So when I went out, 4 months ago to look for a new refrigerator freezer, you couldn't find one. It was absolutely... had to find a scratch and dent one in Roseburg to get because nobody had anything. Couldn't even order anything.
So how
so far behind?
People on here are asking, so how can people help?
GoFundMe is the best thing now, or just direct contact with us. Our phone line just came on yesterday finally, since it's been gone since September.
What's the phone number there?
541-498-2230. We have a lot of local business people that are actually calling and saying we don't do GoFundMe, but we would love to help out. Just tell us who to write it out to and send the check to, basically. But right now we're kind of getting shut down by our insurance company. They don't want to repair anything that had dirt on it or was buried whatsoever. So our whole septic line, I don't know who leaves their septic
an
line
above ground septic
in the air, but
I think the whole idea is to bury the shit, isn't it?
And usually not to pump it uphill. But
because it's always really beautiful to drive up to the Steamboat Inn and see a big tank full of crap when you drive up there. John.
Yeah, we try to keep that outside as much as possible. Now it's a little harder because you can see through the woods for hundreds of yards now.
Yeah. So on the level of like hope, where are you guys at?
We haven't given up.
We're one day at a time, and we can't give up. This is our deal. This is all we have. So there's no walking away from it.
We mortgaged our entire lives to do this, and we live in the end. So this is our business and our home and our life. So every day we're just trying to find a new way to make it work.
Yep. Just taking it day by day at this point in time. That's really all we can do. Try to keep our head up and keep moving forward and try to get something done on a daily basis. It's depression is probably the roughest part of it all.
The depression?
Yeah.
So what are your neighbors like? There's other stores and other people up there. What I know Frank and Jeannie lost everything. and
Mhm.
Yeah,
they're
the
living.
cat trees going across the creek.
And what about the other lot of houses?
A lot of
Yeah.
houses. There's 109
Yeah.
families that lost their homes, basically.
5 of our employees lost their homes.
Yep. And some of them, there's people that their houses were on drainages going to certain, like on creeks going to certain rivers that flow into North Umpqua. Regulations have changed now to where you can't build as close to creeks and drainages as much as you used to. So a lot of people now can't even rebuild their home. They have property with insurance. Insurance says, here you go, here's a check to rebuild your house. But I don't know what to tell you because you can't rebuild on your property anymore.
Right.
So that's, I mean, our situation is pretty minor compared to something like that.
No, that's happening on the McKinsey too. And then, the groups that are trying to protect the river are coming in and buying up these properties. I think it's just horrible. It's like, and if you had a house and you had it and it was there and you have the foundation, you could show it, you should be able to build that house back again. Because it's not your fault that this fire came through and that happened. And so you lose everything. Plus then we slap you silly because now you lost your house and now you can't build it again. Now I can see on the McKinsey, one of the things they're looking at is trying to get federal grants to help with a lot of sewer systems because a lot of the septic systems weren't up to the current code. And so that would help homeowners to build and have those really super expensive, which is what you're looking at too, to put in.
We had that.
It's extensive and people don't understand that. It's not just a tank in the ground with your shit in it. This is like, all kinds of planning and it's super expensive and these people can't afford it. And so the county commissioners are looking for some kind of a grant to help out with that kind of thing for people. But then there's still people like you say, who are close enough to the river that these groups are coming in and fighting them. I know a lady here in our area that she spent $10,000 in legal funds just to challenge because they were challenging her to build her house again. And she had to pay $10,000 in legal fees and that's not even building her house. That's just to get back on her property and be able to do what she needs to do on her property. That is criminal.
Yeah. And trying to sue, and I hate the whole legal having to sue to survive, but even a lawsuit right now, you're looking at 3 years before you're going to get anything out of it, before it's going to finalize.
We'll be out of business before anything happens.
Court systems are backed up due to COVID, so getting anything through a court system is almost impossible.
Right.
So it's just time. There's no way to get anything done in a timely manner to be able to bring things back to the way they were.
So if you could sit down with the governor and talk to her in terms, and then maybe county commissioners and people like that, as people, your voice, I want to give you a voice. What would you ask them to do in terms of to help get people like yourself and all those 100 neighbors or homeowners that are on your river? What would your comments be?
We might need some like insurance litigation help at a state level, same as what's happening with COVID, where restaurants are suing insurance companies for not covering losses because it's a virus. And they're using the black mold clause to get out of paying restaurants for a challenge. It's very similar to that. So they're using the fire to get out of paying. We pay $42,000 a year in insurance. That's a lot.
That's just for the inn, not including vehicles or any other property we have.
And they won't cover the septic because it's got dirt in it.
Yeah, we've had serious insurance issues ever since we bought the place. When we had the big snowstorm that took our water line out, we had to put in a claim for that they didn't want to pay, and they basically paid to get us back up and running and then dropped us immediately afterwards. And if we don't have insurance, we don't have a business. We can't run, we can't function. So trying to find insurance for a unique inn like this, it's almost impossible. Melinda spent 3 weeks just trying to find something different and couldn't find anything different. So then we had to go back and fight with our current insurance company to prove that we had fire prevention is what they were actually trying to drop us over. We didn't have enough fire prevention, they said. So we had the ODOT manager that has an office on the other side of the river email and send factual evidence that we had 40,000 gallon tank over there full of water that we could fight fire with. and then they accept us back finally. But it's having another claim go through. Our biggest worry is they're going to drop us and we're never going to be able to find insurance again.
Right.
And then what do? We just we're dead in the water.
I don't think people understand, like when Oregon is so unfriendly to small business. I mean, seriously, I was a news anchor. I got paid by somebody else. They signed my check and I didn't have to do anything. Now that I have my own business, I mean, I had to get to do my Pacific Northwest Backstory series where I travel in my truck and I go around. I had to get $1 million worth of insurance to cover me in order so that my sponsors could come on board to sponsor me. And people go, well, you must do, and it's like, people don't understand that's, I didn't pay $1 million, obviously, but it's a lot of money out of your budget to do this kind of stuff. And people have no clue that goes on. Scott Littlejohn is one of my other clients. He has insurance. I may be able to help you with your insurance. Tough risk, but there are avenues available. So Scott, would you get a hold of them at the Steamboat Inn? I put their phone number on there and talk with them.
We've had a party here.
The Littlejohn, you don't forget that name, do you? I told him I told him when I met him, I said, Littlejohn, you have to be Native American, right? And he's like, no. But I thought, it sounds like a Native American name, Chief Littlejohn, I thought, hey, this has got to be who he is. So Scott will help. He'll get in touch with you guys and maybe we can help on that end. Mm-hmm. Anybody else out there, if you guys know, if you see something about or you heard something that they said that might be able to help too, that would be great. But they are through this GoFundMe trying to raise $200,000, and anything any of us can do would be really super helpful. And and one, it's because I love your story, and you're these two ballsy people who put your everything on the line for this place because you wanted to do this, and I really think you'll get through it. But I think also in terms of Oregon, this is a historic landmark that cannot go. It has to come back. But say it again.
We bought this place because we wanted to save it.
Yeah, it's the heart of Oregon steelhead fly fishing. There's no other spot that compares as far as history and just beauty of the area is insane. And thank God it didn't all burn. At least everything above us upriver is still beautiful, green and lush, and looks like it always has. But the drive from Glide to here is
sobering.
Rough. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, that's the first time I went on the McKenzie, and I live off the McKenzie, but I had to go, but it's only 7 miles from my house where the damage starts. And you start there and you go to Blue River. It's 20 miles or something. And it just gets worse and worse. And my wife and I were driving and we looked over at each other. We both had tears running down our face because all the places we visited, and you guys, you have a trail that is phenomenal that I don't think people know. A hiking trail that goes all the way from in town, close to Idle, whatever.
Wild.
Yeah. And then it goes it's 70 miles of trail that are now probably burned, and they'll restore it. But it's like, it was one of the most phenomenal things ever. And the North Umpqua is probably, ever since I did a story on Frank Moore 25 years ago, I think it is close. I think it's got to be up at the top of one of the most beautiful rivers in Oregon. That section, better than the lower. It's so beautiful.
It's one of the healthiest as well. It's got great environment for fish and wildlife. It's sad to see what happened. It's sad to see the ash from Frank and Jeannie's house every time I drive by. It's rough. It's really rough.
Yeah. We had Frank and Jeannie on, and you guys, I'm really sorry, and I hope. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't here saying they're going to be praying for you, and Tom, and they appreciate that, I'm sure. And I'm a big believer in prayer, but I'm also a big believer in action. And prayer is action, but sometimes I think that we have to understand that if we're going to be a community and a state, and we respect these things, it's our responsibility to act. And that's why when I heard your story, I thought, I'm finding a sponsor. And so Bucks, when I called Scott, and he just goes, yeah, because Scott was up there. Buck Sanitary was providing showers for up the McKenzie, down on your fire. He was down there for like 10 days or something straight. I mean, never went home, hauling water back and forth like that. I mean, this is like a big deal. So I think we all have to buckle down and kind of figure out what we can do to help you guys out. And would you keep in contact with me, please, and let me know if there's anything else we can do for you. And then how about on the hopeful end, once it's back open and ready to go, let me know. I want to come up and I'm making a reservation. I'm paying, but I'm coming up and making a reservation. You guys, we did the most fun thing a few years ago. They invited us up and we went up and they do these really cool dinners, which they'll be doing again. And they had beer from McMinnville, and then restaurants came up from McMinnville and cooked the food. So you sit on these big tables with everybody, and COVID's going to be way over by then. And then you sit there. And we had so much fun. It was just like the most delightful evening, and we met so many new people and stuff. And yeah, you guys do a great job, and I think it's important that we restore that and get it back in order.
Yeah,
thank you.
There's a lot in Oregon that needs restoring right now. The McKenzie's tragic. That's I grew up on that river. My aunt owned Walterville Feed and Tackle for over 20 years.
Wow.
And lived at Greenwood Drive. I
lived at Greenwood Drive, so we feel for those people too.
Yeah.
A lot of people at Blue River, some of the Blue River towing people I've known over the years and their family, and there's a lot of loss everywhere. it's going to take a lot to ever get it back to where it was at.
Yeah.
Things are just too expensive anymore. And in reality, it's just ridiculous how much things cost.
All right.
People's time is a lot more.
You guys keep your chin up. And then let us know if there's something and anything on GoFundMe. If you need to post it on my page, I got a lot of people out there. Just let me know. Just post it, and if you have trouble, get it to me, and I'll post it for you. Okay.
Sounds good.
If you guys go on the page and put your actual link to your GoFundMe, just put it in the comment section. Just throw it in there, and then it'll be there for people to come in and do something. Okay.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
you. I'm gonna pull you out of here for a second. All right, so there you go. That's where my famous saying, "The rubber hits the road." A historic landmark. We want to save it. We want to keep it going. Nice family, risked everything to do something. This isn't on them, or this isn't about Bucks right here. This is just my own personal opinion, and it is my show, so I'm going to throw this out there. You need to write. If you need to write your elected officials, including the governor, and talk and say in a kind and orderly fashion that we need to do a better job when we're creating a budget. We need to provide more money for this kind of thing, for people like this who are homeless right now, hundreds who are still living in motel rooms, and we have $140 million in a budget for that. To help these people. We need to also contact each of our county commissioners, your county commissioners, and let them know that you want them to ease restrictions for these people so that they can rebuild. This is not the time to go in and try to save the world. This is the time to go in and restore what they had. And the only way that's going to happen is with political pressure. And you are the people of Oregon. So what you can do is write and make your wishes known, and you put the pressure on, and you put it on hard, and you keep writing it until they do what we want them to do, because we are the boss. We are the people of Oregon, and they're there to do what we ask them to do. And we want these people restored. We want things back to what they were. And we don't want this as a time that has been used now to go in and do things that groups have wanted to do for a long time. We want to save the river too. That's why we live on it. We care about the river too, because that's why we live on it. But we need to be able to, when we have property, that's our land, and we need to be able to rebuild. And again, this is not a Bucks sanitary a position. It's not the Steamboat Inn position necessarily. This is the position of me, Rick Dancer. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it until I die. Community is an action word. If you're going to be in one, you have to do something about it. Love is an action word. If you're going to love, if you're going to say you love, you have to do something about it. The days of Oregonians sitting back and going, they're over. We have to get in the game, because we've seen what happens when we don't. I'm Rick Dancer. This is the Buck Stops Here, sponsored by Buck Sanitary Service. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll have much more next week. Oh my God. Next week we have got We have got a new center in town. Any Lab Test Now is now doing COVID testing. We're going to go over there and do that. I may even have that done. Matt McCarl's going to be here with a really cool story with hyperbaric and massage wellness center. My mind is gone. On Thursday, priority one. Here's a priority one. Priority one, heating and air conditioning, is sponsoring a show. And this is a priority one. A little boy named Braden, I think he's 10 years old, just went through 2 brain surgeries to remove a tumor. And he's going to be with us with his mom to talk to us. And he pulled through it just like a monster. And he's going to be here to talk with us about, and it was benign. So they're hoping it stays that way. And what else have I got coming up for you? Oh, I don't know. We'll have more, but that's what you're looking for. That's why you come here. All right. I'm going to go home and have a beer.